Hello and welcome, I'm Gautam Roy. Pakistan has dared to hit India's military sites overnight, but its attempt has come a complete cropper. India neutralized its assault in over 15 locations and hit back hard, which has rendered its air defense apparatus in Lahore ineffective. Pakistan is attempting to escalate a conflict of its own making because India chose to strike at 9 terror haunts with Operation SINDOOR after the Pahalgam terror attack. Pakistan's asymmetrical target of India is now facing the full force of India, intolerant to terror. Now, Pakistan's attempt to escalate tensions with India by targeting military installations at multiple locations was successfully negated, and its air defense system at Lahore was neutralized. On the night of the 7th and 8th of May 2025, Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western India, including Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, that's in Punjab, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Adampur, Bhatinda, Chandigarh, Nal, Halodi, now this is Rajasthan, Uttarlai and Bhuj, that's Gujarat, using drones and missiles. These were neutralized by the integrated counter UAS grid and air defense systems. India's Ministry of External Affairs, addressing a press conference on the development following Operation Sindoor, and there were Wing Commander of the Indian Air Force, Vyomika Singh, also there with the other lady officer, highlighting India's response to Pakistan.
Today morning, Indian Armed Forces targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. Indian response has been in the same domain with the same intensity as Pakistan. It has been reliably learnt that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized.
In addition, due to Pakistan's unprovoked firing violation of the ceasefire, 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children, and hence India has been compelled to respond to Pakistan's misadventures. Indian armed forces have reiterated a commitment to non-escalation provided it's respected by the Pakistani military. The officer added that Pakistan has intensified its firing.
Pakistan has increased the intensity of its unprovoked firing across the line of control using mortar and heavy caliber artilleries in areas in Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri, Poonch, Mendhar and Rajouri sectors in Jammu and Kashmir. 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children, due to the Pakistani firing. Here too, India was compelled to respond to bring mortar and artillery fire from Pakistan to a halt. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistan military.
And India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, Kashmiri Pandit himself, also addressed the press conference by the Ministry of External Affairs. The Foreign Secretary said that at the UNSC, Pakistan opposed the role of TRF, which is the resistance front, even after the TRF claimed responsibility for the Pahalgam terror attack, not once but twice.
दिलचस्प बात यह है कि संयुक्त राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा समिति में जब पहलगाम के हमले को लेके एक प्रेस वक्तव्य जारी करने की बात चल रही थी, तो आप सोचिए किस देश ने टीआरएफ का, द रेजिस्टेंस फ्रंट का उसमें मेंशन किया जाना, उसको अपोज किया, पाकिस्तान ने. दिस वाज आफ्टर द फैक्ट दैट द टीआरएफ claimed responsibility for this attack not once but twice within a few hours after the incident on the 22nd of April and then again on the morning of 23rd April. And it is perhaps only after the full gravity of the incident was realized by its masters and handlers across the border that it was managed to back off from this claim.
And in yet another measure taken by India in the interest of national security, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has issued an advisory for all OTT platforms, media streaming platforms and intermediaries operating in India to discontinue their web series, films, songs, podcasts and other streaming media content, whether made available on a subscription-based model or otherwise having its origins in Pakistan, with immediate effect. And major world leaders have supported India in its fight against terrorism. Operation SINDOOR struck terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Top global officials have also expressed their concern over Pakistan's support for terrorism.
In response to the terror attack targeting tourists in Pahalgam on April 22nd, India launched Operation Sindoor on the terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir on Wednesday. Leaders across the world have supported India's firm stand in fight against terror. US President Donald Trump said that people knew based on some of the past experience that something was going to happen. He hoped that the fighting would end soon. Israeli ambassador to India, Reuven Azar, took to social media platform X. He wrote, Israel supports India's right to self-defense. Terrorists should know that there is no place to escape from their heinous crimes against innocents. France's Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs on Wednesday said it supports India in its fight against terrorist groups. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has also called on India and Pakistan to exercise restraint. Speaking in the UK House of Commons, Member of Parliament Priti Patel condemned the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack and called on the British government to strengthen counter-terror cooperation with India. Patel also highlighted the importance of UK's security cooperation with India.
This is clearly a precarious moment, and we want to see tensions ease between India and Pakistan. We want to avoid a state-on-state military escalation. We're also clear that India has the right to take reasonable and proportionate steps to defend itself and to dismantle the vile terrorist infrastructure that has caused death and continues to threaten them. And we know that terrorists based in Pakistan threaten India and Western interests. It was the country that Osama bin Laden was hiding in. And because of the long history of violence inflicted by terrorists on India, the UK has in place long-standing security cooperation agreements with India.
UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy in a statement said UK was clear in its condemnation of horrific terrorist attack in Pahalgam last month. He added that UK needs all sides to work urgently to see regional stability restored and ensure protection of civilians. Former UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak strongly supported India in its fight against terrorism, saying, no nation should have to accept terrorist attacks being launched against it from land controlled by another country. He added that India is justified in striking terrorist infrastructure. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' spokesperson said that UN chief is very concerned and has called on both nations to exercise maximum military restraint. Netherlands MP Geert Wilders, while extended his support to India, wrote on X that Kashmir is 100% Indian, using hashtag Pakistan behind Pahalgam. Panama, a non-permanent UNSC member, has issued a statement saying it stands in solidarity with India in the ongoing fight against terrorism. Other countries, including Russia, UAE and Japan, also stood by India in its fight against zero tolerance to terrorism. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, it is well known worldwide that Pakistan is home to a very large number of UN-prescribed terrorists as well as terrorists proscribed by other governments in the world, including the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed as well as their leaders. Pakistan has also claimed that India attacked religious sites, and this is a completely false claim. This has been made clear that targets were terrorist infrastructure and terrorist facilities. This is a picture that has been used and displayed in that briefing that we've just reported to you by the Foreign Secretary, Vikram Misri, India's Foreign Secretary. And you can see clearly in these pictures, there is a man who is reading out some sort of a tribute to a terrorist's coffin that's been wrapped up in Pakistan's national flag. And there are a lot of men in uniform behind. You can see them there. You can count them, at least 4 of them right in the forefront in the frame, who are there paying homage to a terrorist slain in Operation Sindoor. And you can see more such images of again terrorists wrapped up in Pakistan's national flag and being paid homage and tribute, being considered and treated like a martyr by men in uniform. Now, India's unprecedented Operation Sindoor, where it hit 9 terror targets of different non-state actors without harming either the Pakistani military or its civilian population, has not only come after what happened last month in Pahalgam. It stems from facing the brunt of Pakistan's asymmetric war for over 3 decades. Experts say the origin of Pakistan's terror factories may lie in the various insurgencies in Afghanistan in the 70s and 80s, but its terror factory status is of its own making and is one of its biggest industry and export.
Pakistan's terror landscape is a complex network of terror groups, state actors and covert alliances. Outfits like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Pakistani Taliban or the TTP continue to operate across the country's heartland and border regions despite global scrutiny. Despite international pressure, these organizations remain active. Lashkar-e-Taiba blamed for the 2008 Mumbai attacks and Jaish-e-Mohammed behind the 2019 Pulwama bombing allegedly enjoy safe havens in Punjab and Sindh. Meanwhile, the Pakistani Taliban is resurging, launching deadly strikes from the volatile Afghanistan border. Intelligence sources suggest Pakistan's spy agency, the ISI, has long used these groups as regional proxies. Now let's connect Pakistan's terror network dots. Pakistan's ISI has provided funding and safe havens to LET, JEM and Afghanistan's TTP for long. There are less mainstream actors as well in Pakistan's terror networks such as the Haqqani network, which operates as a semi-autonomous ISI extension along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. The Islamic State Khorasan, ISIS-K, is another outfit. It emerged from the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan defectors with operational bases in eastern Afghanistan and Pakistan's tribal areas. The Harkatul Mujahideen also functions as a specialized recruitment pipeline for Pakistani proxy groups, maintaining extensive networks within Pakistan's religious seminary system, with over 60% of recruits channeled to LET and JEM operations. Pakistan's relationship with terrorist organizations goes beyond allegations. It is documented through concrete evidence, defector testimonies, international intelligence assessments, and financial tracking, where over 45,000 lives have been lost since 1990. We're listed by FATF from 2008 to 2010, 2012 to 2015, and 2018 to 2022. Failure to dismantle terror financing networks internationally recognized. Former President Musharraf openly admitted to training terrorists for Kashmir ops. Former PM Nawaz Sharif confirmed state support for terrorist groups. Pakistan's current Foreign Affairs Minister recently put his country in dock. Pakistan's Foreign Minister admitted it has been doing dirty work for Western powers for long. Islamabad denies any official support, yet global watchdogs and UN agencies continue to flag terror financing channels operating from major cities like Karachi and Lahore. As tensions rise across South Asia, experts warn unless dismantled, this terror maze could tip the region into deeper instability. For now, the Hydra-headed monster remains intact and dangerously active. Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
And the Foreign Secretary talked about it, and let me remind you, it was Imran Khan when he was Prime Minister of Pakistan in 2020 when he referred to Osama bin Laden as a martyr. And it was only clarified a year later by Pakistan's Foreign Minister that it was a slip of tongue. Now let's go to our guests. Lieutenant General Rameshwar Yadav is joining us, retired, and he is former DG Infantry. And we also have Yashwardhan Sinha, former senior diplomat, with us on the show. Good evening to you, gentlemen. First to you, yes. General Yadav, what do you make of the way India has been responding to what Pakistan has been trying to do? First, it sends in terrorists, then it, well, rains down all kinds of bombs and rockets at our military assets. And it's all a failure.
Firstly, Jai Hind and Bharat Mata ki Jai to all
Bharat
the
Mata
viewers.
ki Jai, definitely.
Our Foreign Secretary has already spelled out. The escalation was started on 22nd April, and we are only simply responding to it. And the way we are responding, it is in a very, very mature manner, and we have only hit the terror camps and the terror training areas that they have, the 9 locations. That is of LET, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen, namely in Muridke, Bawalpur and Sialkot. So we have very clearly told from the very first day, that is yesterday, that we do not want any escalation at all, and we have only hit a target which is a non-military and is not a civilian target at all. So we had made it very neat and clean distinction between the terrorists and the civilian population and the Pakistan as such and Pakistan army as such. And therefore, it is a kind of an example which is never seen anywhere in the world. If you look at it, wherever there have been a terrorist strike, the respondent country has been going all hell against the terrorist organization, as you have seen in Israel and Hamas thing. And also if you look at in Syria, you look at Iran, Iraq and everywhere else. So it is a totally different mosaic and totally different template that we have followed. Nevertheless, Pakistan has retaliated last night. They have tried to hit 15 of air bases, which are bordering our international border and the line of control. But all of them were neutralized effectively by our AD systems that we have as the 400 and other systems that we have as on now, thereby conveying the effectiveness of our AD systems that we have. And Pakistan, in their response, they have also started mortar and artillery firing across the LC, and in which we have suffered civilian casualties. So Pakistan is now escalating this entire ante as of now, to which India has responded. And in case, once again, we have tried to convey through this press briefing that we are not interested in escalating it. But if Pakistan still decides to escalate the ante, then we have no choice but to respond to it. And I'm sure we are prepared for it. We have all the kind of contingencies. We have taken 15 days before we have responded to the first escalation by Pakistan on 22nd April. That means we have carried out our planning, our preparations, we carried out contingency planning, and I'm sure in case Pakistan do not mend their ways, they are going to have a tough time with India.
Well, they're indulging in a disinformation campaign as well, which is being completely discredited by different sources, including the Press Information Bureau. Yashwardhan Sinha, if I could come to you and ask you, normally we've seen in the past as well, when such confrontations have taken place, Pakistan has tried to internationalize the issue, run to the UN Security Council, where it has had friends, at least one committed friend really in the form of China. But this time around, it seems, does it seem to you rather, that it's not having much purchase?
Well, at the outset, I'd like to extend my heartiest congratulations to our armed forces for the very successful operations that they are carrying out, the nation's gratitude for their valor, and of course condolences to those civilians, their families who have lost their lives in cowardly retaliation by Pakistan. As far as your question goes, Gautam, I think Pakistan keeps trying to internationalize Kashmir, and unsuccessfully. We've seen it in the past, we see it now, and there's less traction for Pakistan's attempts, even though it's a member of the UN Security Council, a non-permanent member currently, and India is not. But there is great support for India's point of view because there is zero tolerance for terrorism. And even countries who are not necessarily well disposed to us realize how terrorism can be the scourge of humanity, really. And they themselves face that menace in their countries. So I think Pakistan's attempts are going to come to naught. Of course, the international community will advise restraint, but then restraint can be advised on people who are reasonable, who are rational. Unfortunately, we are dealing with a rogue state, and the head of their army is completely communal. You saw his speech, you heard his speech of 16th of April, and you saw what happened on the 22nd of April in Pahalgam. So it is laughable that they are trying to portray this conflict as communal. It is not communal from our point of view. The whole of India is behind our armed forces and our government. On Pakistan's side, I'm not sure what their objective is and how this will pan out. But if they try further misadventure, it will be opposed resolutely and responded to robustly.
General Yadav, Pakistan is trying to create fog around what is happening in terms of the confrontation, the way it's going. It is the aggressor, it is escalating, India is not, and yet it's trying to portray that as it has always done in the past as well, that it is a victim of some sorts. But do you think this has to be discredited to the largest extent possible by India? We have the evidence. That's what has been talked about today in the briefing, and very soon we'll see it on screens as well. One we have already shown in terms of the photographs.
Pakistan has always been in a state of denial. You have seen a number of videos which are already floating. The press, there was one press interview of one of their ministers, and he was outright denying everything. And despite the fact the entire world knows what is the actual state of affairs. Now coming to the retaliation means escalation by Pakistan. Well, it is a compulsion because they have been supporting the terrorism as part of their state policy. And now when these cadres, they have died, so they have no choice but to showcase to their own public that these are our people and their martyrs. So that is the reason you see in the photograph what you have shown, all these people in combat uniform, these are Fauji's, they are standing there. That means the kind of influence these terrorists and their leaders have over the government of Pakistan that even the combatant, they are obliged to come for their funeral. So this is something, it is very really strange. And it is the same country which has not accepted their own bodies of soldiers during Kargil war. It was Indian Army who had to give them honorable burial at that time. So Pakistan, like Ambassador has said, it is a rogue state. We are dealing with the most irrational people going around, and they are always in perpetual denial state, and they are going to escalate this because in case they do not do it, because their survival is a problem. Because in Pakistan, it is the army which is ruling actually, and in case the army doesn't show that they are going against India and they are not responding properly, probably the civil-military divide which is already there, it will further increase, and that will not be acceptable to the army. So therefore, it is an army-driven agenda that they have, and they were going to continue perpetuating this kind of a culture that they have.
How would you categorize what is happening in terms of India and Pakistan? Initially, India hit out at these non-state targets, and now we've seen the involvement of military targets on both sides. So it's escalated, but there will be people who engage in semantics and wonder what is going on at the moment. At what level, if it's a conflict, at what level is it?
Actually, the way the pattern is emerging, last night they have tried to hit 15 air bases of India. And the intention is to see to it that Indian Air Force, they are made inoperable, they cannot operate effectively from these forward air bases. But they're forgetting the present fleet that we have. They all have very long in the depth as far as the range is concerned. Most of them can be refueled mid-air. And in any case, Pakistan, if you look at their width, which is hardly 250 to 300 kilometers, all our aircraft, they can reach on the other side of Pakistan very conveniently. But the fact remains the intentions were to see to it that all these airports that we have and the bases, they are hit so that it will impact the Air Force operations. You see, in any military op, the first thing what both the countries they try and do, try to achieve favorable air situation. So that their Air Force is free to carry out hitting the strategic targets across. This is what Pakistan was trying to do last night, but their efforts were nullified by our AD. On the other hand, what we have done with our drones, we have tried to neutralize their AD equipment and their radars so that we have a free run in case it is required tomorrow to get into Pakistan and take on the strategic targets assigned for it.
Okay. And in terms of how it's going, Mr. Sinha, what do you make of the way India has handled this entire issue diplomatically? Do you feel confident that whatever it may be matters of military, of defense, or on the diplomatic front, Pakistan will be checkmated by India on every front?
Absolutely. I think this is a whole of government approach, and Foreign Secretary's masterly press conference just concluded clearly shows how every wing of the government is coordinating very closely. And as he mentioned that the External Affairs Minister and the other functionaries and dignitaries in the Ministry of External Affairs have been working the phones, they've been talking to their counterparts all over the globe, and there is an outpouring of support for India, because what India has suffered was a grievous terrorist attack on innocents, and it was communal, completely faith-based. That is completely unacceptable.
Certainly, and we have to wrap it up over here, so we're completely out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, General Rameshwar Yadav, as well as Yashwardhan Sinha, to talk about how India is showing and demonstrating really to what level of intolerance it has for terror this time around when Pakistan tried to strike its innocent civilians, its tourists as well in Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you. Jai Hind. Well, that's it for the moment in this show, but our rolling coverage of what has been happening between India and Pakistan will go on. My colleague Shubhendu will be here next to take it forward. Thanks for watching.